If you have kept your eyes on the Las Vegas Strip lately, you have probably noticed something strange about the Venetian. It still looks spectacular from the outside. The canals, the replicas of Italian architecture, the massive suites, the sprawling gaming floor, endless restaurants, and the convention center that practically runs half the city's business traffic. On the surface, it feels like one of the few Vegas giants that is still untouchable. But once you peel back the layers, once you talk to employees, analysts, and even a few guests, a completely different picture starts to form. A picture of a resort quietly drowning in a financial problem so massive it threatens the foundation of everything the Venetian was built on. And the worst part is that no one in Vegas can save it this time. The core of the disaster goes back to the year 2022, when Las Vegas Sands, the company that literally built the Venetian, shocked the entire industry by selling it off. Sands did not just sell the hotel and casino, they sold everything. The Venetian, the Palazzo, and one of the biggest convention centers in the country, all gone in one massive $6.25 billion deal. They did not leave behind a single brick, and the reason was not a mystery. Sands realized the Strip was not the money machine it used to be. Macau was producing tens of billions of dollars a year, while Vegas was plateauing. To Sands, Vegas was not the future, it was a burden. That is the part that should have terrified everyone. When one of the most profitable gaming companies on earth decides Vegas is not worth the effort, you know something is seriously broken. After the sale, ownership split in two. Apollo Global Management took over operations, while VICI Properties became the landlord. If you know anything about VICI, you know they have one of the most aggressive real estate portfolios in the country. Their entire business model is built on collecting massive rent checks from casinos, and the Venetian is one of their most expensive tenants. Now the resort carries a lease that eats through hundreds of millions of dollars every single year. That alone puts the Venetian at a disadvantage before a single guest even walks inside. And unlike Sands, which had essentially endless cash for renovations and expansions, Apollo does not have that same margin for error. Apollo inherited an aging mega resort, one that desperately needs upgrades, but with financial obligations that make major renovations almost impossible to execute smoothly. The Venetian is enormous. It is one of the largest hotel complexes in the world, with over 7,000 rooms across its towers. Every hallway, every escalator, every air conditioning system, every piece of plumbing runs on infrastructure that is more than 2 decades old. Behind the scenes, the Venetian is hitting the exact point in its life cycle where everything needs to be replaced. The carpets, the elevators, the water features, the lighting systems, the casino layout, the room interiors, all of it requires massive investment. And that is where the estimated $2 billion problem comes in. Industry insiders have projected that the Venetian may need upwards of $2 billion over the next decade just to stay competitive, not to innovate, not to expand, simply to stay relevant in a market filled with brand new mega projects. And what happens when you combine enormous renovation needs with enormous rent payments? You get a property with almost no financial breathing room. You get a scenario where every delay becomes a crisis. The Venetian has already begun small renovation phases, but the scope of what is needed is far larger than anyone is publicly admitting. Renovating a place like this is not like repainting a room. When you upgrade the Venetian, you have to shut down floors, close restaurants, reroute guests, and take entire sections of the casino offline. Every square foot that gets closed for renovation means revenue disappears, and when you are already dealing with a massive fixed cost structure, you cannot afford revenue disappearing. Tourism trends make the situation even worse. Vegas is not in a free fall, but it is undeniably softening. Conventions are still strong during big events, but the demand is not as stable as it used to be. Companies are cutting travel budgets, guests are spending less, and the so-called revenge tourism boom from the global shutdown years has completely evaporated. The Venetian relies heavily on weekday business travel, but those guests are not filling rooms the way they used to. And when the weekdays slow down, when the casino floor is half empty at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday, that is when you see the cracks forming. Walk through the resort during a non-convention week, and the vibe is completely different. Staff members have even said they they sometimes get instructed to look busy, something you never heard at the Venetian 10 years ago. You can also see the pressure on the employees themselves. The Venetian used to be known for having some of the best staff morale on the Strip. Longtime workers took pride in the property. Now, many of them describe frustration, understaffing, and constant pressure to keep up despite reduced resources. One cocktail server said it feels like they are being asked to cover 2 stations worth of work during every shift. A dealer told me that since the ownership change, maintenance issues take longer to fix. Things sit broken longer. And the larger the resort, the more obvious that becomes. A bathroom sink out of order at a small casino means nothing. At the Venetian, it is a symbol of a place struggling to keep up with its size. The competition is not doing the Venetian any favors either. Resorts World, for all of its problems, still has the advantage of being newer. Wynn and Encore continue to be the gold standard for luxury. The Sphere next door is now the biggest tourist magnet on the North Strip, but that attention does not always translate into more casino revenue for the Venetian. People go to the Sphere for the show, then they leave. Venetian restaurants get a bump, but the casino floor does not see the same impact Sands used to enjoy when conventions were king. The bigger issue is that theming in Vegas has changed. The Venetian was built during the era when mega-themed resorts dominated the Strip. Back then, being unique was everything. A pyramid, a castle, a Roman palace, a pirate ship, a miniature New York City skyline. Today's Vegas favors sleek minimalism, LED walls, ultra-modern interiors, clean lines, glass towers, and while the Venetian is still beautiful, its elaborate theming does not feel as modern as its new rivals. Younger tourists care more about nightlife, music festivals, drink prices, and social media-friendly moments than hand-painted ceilings or faux Renaissance architecture. The resort risks becoming a relic of the old Vegas mega-resort era, even though it is not old by typical standards. Add all of this together, the lease, the aging infrastructure, the massive maintenance needs, the shifting tourist market, the declining convention activity, the brutal competition, and the financial pressure from corporate owners, and you start to see why the Venetian situation is far more fragile than it appears. The $2 billion problem is not one single issue. It is the weight of everything happening at once, crushing a resort too big to adapt quickly. The Venetian will survive for now. It is too iconic, too large, too central to the Strip's identity. But make no mistake, it is approaching a turning point, and Vegas, despite its marketing and reinvention efforts, cannot save a property this size from the financial pressure building beneath the surface. The Venetian is in a race against time, a race to modernize, to stay relevant, and to keep up with a version of Las Vegas that is evolving faster than anyone expected, and unless something changes soon, this massive resort might become the next symbol of Vegas corporate overreach, a giant created during a golden era now struggling to survive in a city that no longer resembles the one it was built for. The Venetian's $2 billion problem is not just a Venetian story. It is the future of Las Vegas staring us in the face. And the question now is whether the city is willing to admit the truth, or if it will keep pretending everything is fine until the cracks become too big to hide.